This Saturday is the holiday of Bishvat, the New Year for the trees, and I just wanted to share with you a small story which I share with a number of my students this week, which I found to be very inspiring. There was a young man by the name of Moshe, whose parents were from the former Soviet Union, who'd made Aliyah and moved to Israel. And Moshe didn't grow up religious, he never had the benefit of a Jewish education, and when he was a young adult, somehow found religion. And he enrolled in a yeshiva not far from Tel Aviv, and he began to study Torah. He was particularly intrigued by the study of Talmud, and he set himself a goal to finish an entire tractate of Talmud, a monumental task, particularly for somebody with little background. And when Moshe finally finished that tractate, the yeshiva threw him a siyum, a celebratory party. And Moshe invited his father to come. His father did not want to come. His father was a pretty staunchly atheistic type of person. But when Moshe kept pressuring his dad said, okay, I'll come, but I really don't want to be there. And his dad shows up to the yeshiva, and the rabbis are there, and the students are there, and it's a festive environment. This kid is making a siyum, he's making this celebratory party for the first tractate that he finished. Great simcha, great happiness in the room. But his father is sitting there kind of sullen, and he made the siyum, and the rabbi spoke, and then this young man got up, Moshe got up, and he spoke, and he thanked God for the opportunity to have discovered Torah, and his rabbis and his teachers, and it was pretty inspiring. Moshe kept looking at his dad, and his dad didn't seem like he really wanted to be there. And right before they were going to finish this party, they were going to bench, they were going to say the grace after the meals, the blessing after the meals, Moshe's father turned to them and said, I'd like to talk for a minute if I can. Everyone was kind of curious and a bit nervous what he would say. Would he say something critical and condescending? And he began to speak, and he said something fascinating. He shared with them that he had grown up a secular Jew in the former Soviet Union, and just because he was a Jew, he had been arrested and sent to the gulags in Siberia. He said he spent an entire year working alongside another guy, and they never spoke one word to another. They were both scared that the other perhaps was a plant, was some type of informer, and they starved together. They froze together. They worked together so hard, yet they never spoke once together. And on the day that Moshe's dad, who was speaking, was released, his co-prisoner turned to him and said, I want to share with you a story. And Moshe's dad said, I never understood this story, or maybe I never wanted to understand the story until this evening. And this is the story that Moshe's dad shared with Moshe and the entire yeshiva. He said there was a wonderful town that was well known for its incredibly beautiful apples. It had trees and orchards which produced some of the most beautiful apples, the most succulent, delicious, juicy, tasty apples that were around. And in charge of the most prestigious orchard were two farmers, two fellows, two caretakers. And one day, during lunch, one of them turns to the other and he says to me, I've been thinking, the earth, the tree, has its roots deep in the ground, and the roots are disgusting, they're dirty, and they're filthy, and they're not pleasant, and look, it still produces such luscious, beautiful apples. Imagine if we dug a large hole and we uprooted the trees and turned them upside down, and we put the branches and the beautiful apples and the leaves in the ground. Imagine how much more beautiful the apples that this tree would produce would be. And his gardener friend looked at him and was like, wow, such a novel idea. It's awesome. Let's try. And they uproot some of the most beautiful trees, and they dig these large holes, and they put them up. They were unsightly and ugly. The roots and the earth were all up in the air, while the plant and the leaves and the apples were all down in the ground. And as you can imagine, nothing grew. And they tried that with another sector of the orchard, and another sector, and another sector. And before long, the entire orchard was desolate, besides for one solitary apple that had somehow remained from the previous crop. Somehow the seed from that apple was planted, and that year, the following year, a sapling grew, and from that sapling the orchard was regenerated and stuff grew anew. Moshe's father turned to him and said to him, I never knew what he meant by that story, but tonight I think I finally understand. My generation, said Moshe's father, had great ideas. We were going to overturn all the ideals of our predecessors. We had new, modern ideas that would guide the lives of man and the course of civilization. We contemplated all the isms that will create new governments and produce a better future. Every one of those new ideas produced disastrous, calamitous results. Yet one apple remained, and that one apple contains the seed from which will emanate the hope of the future. The crowd sat spellbound as they listened to Moshe's father's words. He paused as he tried not to lose his composure. He looked at his son, and with a quivering voice choked with emotion, he said, "My son, you are the future. I am proud of you." And with that he embraced his son, and he wept. Our tradition teaches us that Adam Eitz Hasada, the Torah says that man is like a tree. But the great Kabbalist, the Maharal, says there's one major difference. A tree has its root deep in the ground, while we, the roots of each person, stretch upwards. It's our soul, and they extend all the way to God. Let's make sure that in our own lives, our roots are planted in the right places. Our trees continue to grow. And even if the people around us, unfortunately, may have walked away and the orchard is in shambles, we may be that remaining apple. And God willing, the beginning, the seeds of a very bright and beautiful future. Shabbat Shalom. Until next week.